from 2015 to 2018, there was a lot of real world things going on in politics here in the UK and obviously in America that were kind of completely against my preconceived notion basically of how the future was going to roll out. Like the New World Order obviously was something that I believed in. And when the Brexit vote happened and England or Great Britain left the European Union, like to me that was something that was breaking up the potential New World Order. So how does that work? And then Trump and Jeremy Corbyn here. Like the thing is I used to think that elections were all rigged. All through this time that I was a believer, every election was rigged. The whole world was run by this conspiracy. It's all a facade. The world is a stage, you know, and this is the New World Order play. But through 2015 and 2018, I saw real world politics like evolve in front of me. I saw real people voting and moving, like democracy like an organism. Like I actually saw it happen, and it wasn't going the way that the establishment or the Illuminati or whatever would have like suggested it would go. It went completely opposite all over the place, and that just really made me like log off of Facebook and just kind of try and figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely. If they're going to be if they're going to be manipulating everything behind the scenes and it's all rigged and the rest of it, what's the point of putting Trump in if their guy is Hillary Clinton? If their magic winner puppet is Hillary Clinton, why are they going to put in the person who is, and that is a twist that I don't hear as often, because a lot of the times the narrative goes that Trump is in to clean out the people of the deep state and the rest of it, and that
was so weird to me. That was so strange to me, because there's something that is different about specifically the rise of QAnon. Is there became the introduction of the good guy,
the white hats, and
before that there was no good guys. Yeah. The left, the right, two wings of the same bird. They work in tandem. You get the same thing no matter who you vote for, because they're all working for like the Bilderbergs or the Masons or someone like that. You know, it's always like yeah. But then this different guy comes along, and it was the same in England. And the weird thing is, it's like it was both of these guys were like opposite ends. Trump, obviously a right winger, and over here we had Corbyn, who's a left winger. But both of them had like a populist message coming from either the left or the right. And something I saw around that time as well was how conspiracy theorists gravitated towards those two candidates. Like in England, like a lot of conspiracy theorists who were into the 9/11 stuff and the Iraq war, you know, anti-war sentiment, that kind of thing, they all kind of gravitated towards him, because both of these people are acting like, oh, there's these elites who, you know, are in control of everything, and the people should have everything. And I found that very interesting.
Yeah, there's
a really odd juxtaposition there.
There's a lot of tension in the U.S. with that exact mindset, is that you have all these people that are controlling everything that actually belongs to the people, and the we the people, they love the T-shirts and with the first couple of words of the U.S. Constitution on there, and and they really cling to this idea that there's something essential to their Americanness has been taken from them. But as soon as it gets equated that that their ideas are actually have a really strong socialist flair, then all of a sudden they just hit this wall. They cannot go any further. Because those ideas cannot live in the same brain. That they're against what's going on in the federal government, but they're not socialist. Can't possibly be anything like that. Any kind of redistribution. That wouldn't be fair. What you were saying about the some of the ways that your ideas about the New World Order were broken, it makes me think of something that Robert Anton Wilson said once about conspiracies. I'm going to paraphrase it because I don't remember his exact words, but he was talking about how he's never heard of a group of 6 people planning something that could keep it secret. So when it comes to these broader and broader conspiracies, and that was also somebody who even in his elder years was no fan of George W. Bush at all. But he was also not a truther because he didn't think that anybody could ever keep that quiet. There'd always be somebody that's going to talk about it, to their wife or in a bar or something like that. It's always going to come out, and it's just too big to not come out. But I have to admit that I was quite drawn to a lot of those things as well. Like I remember watching Loose Change. I remember seeing a lot of stuff that was around at that point. I mean, like I was definitely somebody who fell under the influence of the original Zeitgeist movie.
Yeah, I watched 1 and 2 and Loose Change at that time.
And I've reflected a lot about my willingness to fall into that area of explanation, because that's really what it's trying to present itself as a factual explanation of what occurred. So I've done a lot of reflecting on what made me susceptible to those messages, and I think that that COVID is a great moment to reflect back on that willingness to believe that the alternative narrative as being somehow more explanatory than what's going around as the official one. And it's that I don't know anything about buildings collapsing. So why would I believe one source versus the other in the first place? And I think that that realization that I don't know anything about a lot of things, and I probably won't. I don't know anything about vaccines, for example. I don't know much about epidemiology other than what I read from people who have studied epidemiology. I don't know about vaccines other than from people who make vaccines. And it was the same thing that sort of like cracked the shell on my ideas about 9/11, and I mean really any other truther moment, is a real sincere look at what I actually know. And a lot of times it's not that much. It might seem like I know something because I've listened to all these people and I've heard all this stuff, but that's just me listening to people hearing all this stuff. It's very different than actually knowing something.
Dr. Grimes wrote some paper. He's a physicist. He wrote this paper that described how long a conspiracy can last given the number of people involved. And he looked at like a number of, and I don't know exactly how he did his model, but he had this model where it's based on the number of people involved and the time elapsed. And over a long enough time and with enough people, any conspiracy is going to be revealed. And I mean, we have seen that. I mean, over a long period of time, we've seen real conspiracies revealed, like when they were testing syphilis on low-income black people.
Tuskegee.
I forget what state. Tuskegee experiment, and other things. But over a long enough period of time,
they were specifically servicemen, I think.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, and with a long enough period of time, it'll come out. Or if you have too many people, you just can't keep them a secret. I mean, that's the Anton Wilson quote again. If you have enough people, you just can't keep a secret, and it just kind of
unless they're all in on it. Unless everyone's in on it and everyone's taken a Freemasonic oath, to Satan or whatever, then everyone's in on it.
but see, that's where you get into this area of impossibility when it comes to relying on evidence. Is that it's impossible to prove the negative cases. There's no way you can prove that there isn't a conspiracy. You can only prove the instances when there is one, at least possibly prove that there is one. But you can never prove that there isn't one. And that's the wiggle room that's always going to be there, because you can't prove that there's not a New World Order, or, that there's sort of like a Simpsons scene with, like 8 guys sitting around a table and, like somebody flies in on a jetpack and Mr. Burns is there with a vest made out of a gorilla. You can't prove that doesn't happen.
Yeah. And I think people like conspiracy influencers take advantage of that.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely.
And again,
I've noticed that. That's why I've noticed that, and that's why I feel swindled. I feel swindled out of like 15 years of my life at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know, like I was 23 when I fell down there, or 24, and yeah, I didn't do any of the things that like an adult should have done. Just I thought the New World Order was going to take over one day. Why would I bother? Why would I bother with any of that stuff? You know, and it's due to these people who swindled me.
Yeah.
You know, David Icke, Alex Jones, them sorts of folks.
And you can see, I mean, especially with somebody like Alex Jones at this point, that the motives that are there, you know, that it's a highly motivated operation that he has to do a specific thing, which is sell you supplements. And that's
or prepper kits.
Right, yeah.
Where it's meals ready to eat in a bucket and some other things.
What is with these guys in the prepper kits? That's the perfect product for conspiracy theorists. It's absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, and it works for such a range of people. You know, like the buckets that Jim Baker, the preacher, was selling too. You know, the same exact thing.
Yeah, you mentioned at one point that Sandy Hook was kind of one of the turning points for you, and you were mentioning how Trump was kind of a turning point for you, which is definitely interesting. And have you found like anything that like throughout the course of this that is standing out to you as spotting stuff now? I mean, now that you're questioning what you previously believed, are you looking at things that seem normalized or pretty mainstream and spotting any sort of trends that are striking to you as you're approaching them, almost like encountering ideas or encountering ideologies or things that people are saying online or whatever, that now that you're looking through a very different lens, having come out of the rabbit hole, that you're perhaps a heightened sense of awareness?
Yeah, I think like conspiracy movement or the truth movement has really changed in the years that I was a truther. And the thing that has like really changed is the vitriol. Like people are really gunning for each other. And in my day, I feel like an old guy now, but it was against the elite. It was against the governments, the people who are in charge. And now, like, any minority you want to blame something on, that's who you go for. Like, that's the thing that I'm really, like, worried about. Is, like, yeah, anti-minorities, anti-LGBTQ, like, it's just gone really strange in that avenue. And that's the worrying thing, I think, is because we're turning on each other. And that's the thing I'm worried about, and why another reason why I try and speak out, because even as a conspiracist, you know, what the thing is like I wanted a better world, and I still want a better world now, and I don't want like people attacking each other.
After observing that difference between what the truthers are like now versus when you were involved, what do you think is different that makes this the case? Like, what makes it, you know, what do you think accounts for that change?
I'm going to be a little bit conspiratorial here, but I do believe like conspiracy theories have been weaponized. From what I was saying about 2015 to 2018 with like the Corbyn stuff and the Trump stuff, like people have realized that conspiracism is a great propaganda tool, and we can see it manifesting in front of our eyes. It's literally happening. It's like, it's not really a conspiracy. It's just what people do, like try to manipulate each other, and that's what I can see that conspiracy theories have been weaponized.
You've been listening to a sample of a Wet Wired Premium episode. To listen to this entire episode and to hear our entire back catalog, you can subscribe on Patreon for just $5 a month. Thank you for helping us keep Wet Wired editorially independent and ad-free.